Okay, so let's take a look at how you can import CSV data into MySQL database table. So what we're going to do is we are going to open MySQL Workbench, right? So let's go there, and this is MySQL and it's Workbench. Make sure that you have the open source edition of MySQL, and also it comes with Workbench and Shell, right? So depending on your use case, you would be able to use those tools accordingly, right? Now in case of Workbench, you will have one instance which you can log in with root access, and once logged in, on the left hand side you can see you have default database name sys. Also you can create other databases. So here in MySQL, databases are called schemas, right? So when you create a new database, what you can do, simply create schema. Let's see, if I choose something like demo db as my new schema, I will apply it, right? And it will ask me to review that. Once executed, I can finish this, and here you see the demo db. Now here can expand this into tables. Right click, here we have table data import wizard, or I can create a table with some specific name, right? You can also have timestamp, user category, etc. Right now, the next thing that I would be doing is I will be opening one mock data generator. Here I'll be creating, let's say, something like SSN data and personal details of user. So let's see if I create something like this, right? So basically we will have around 400 rows, format CSV, and I can preview this data. So it will have a row number which is integer, text or varchar for these three, and this should be mix of two or just your typical varchar, right? So preview, right? So here, as you can see, I have this data for SSN, which is numbers data, then ID, first name, last name, email. So this is just the personal data that I can download, right? So I'm downloading this, and here it says mock data. So instead of mock data, what I can do is I can name this. As, let's see, name as users.csv, right? So this is my CSV data. Now let's go back to our MySQL Workbench, right? Right click on your table within newly created schema or database. Within tables, right click, table data import wizard. Here I can browse to that user CSV. Next, here I can create the table with name users. Click next, and here you see your ID is integer, first name, last name, text, then SSN is also text. You can change that to any other of your choice. I will stick with text, right? So email, first name, last name, text. Much simplified version. The reason is, though it contains your numbers, it has one character which is dash, right? So there's dash, or if you have underscore, make sure to select varchar or text. Make sure also encoding is UTF-8, which makes it easier to export across multiple databases. Then use next, right? And if I click on next, it should show me these two being checked, right? Data is imported, and it will say success, right? So let it import the data. Basically it's 400 rows of data, so it will take a bit of time. Once it's done, you will be able to see that it's checked with this import data file mark. Then click continue. 400 records imported, as you can see, and this table is also generated. So click finish. Now as you can see, we will have to check and verify this data. So let's refresh, and we have now a table here with name users, and when you select it, the information will show you the columns on that database. Now I can simply run a query. Select first 1000 rows if you want, and as you can see, it will generate the output 1 to 400, right? So you got the data within your database by simply using import wizard. Okay, there are a few other methods as well, like making use of MySQL shell. Also you can use other tools like dbforge, etc., and that would also take your data, import into your database and respective table. Okay, so there is one more method to add your MySQL table with this particular CSV file, right? So here I have this CSV file named, let's say, cells.csv, right? So I want to put this file into my DemoDB, right, with the table name cells, right? So what I'm going to do is I will type in MySQL -u root -p. Then I will type the correct password, and after that we will have to use set global, then local underscore inline set to true, right? And we will have to run this, right? Once we run this, we will have to exit, right? We will just type in exit after this, and then log in with inline parameter, right? So for that we will use MySQL, then double dash load, local, then inline equals to 1, right? And then p, right? If I hit enter, it says access denied, so we'll have to change if it allows us the password. Then right, we got in, and in the file load data local in file, then we have our path, right? So we'll just copy address as text and then go back, make sure it's /, and then use cells.csv, close the quote, into table named cells, and then semicolon, right? Hit enter, and it says demodb.cells doesn't exist, so it expects us to create that table before we put in the data, right? So let's say if I particularly check that table, right? Okay, then I create the table. Let's name this sales, right? And then we will create an empty table, right? So just apply, here it says, right? And we will add it later. Let's see if it allows. Okay, then make sure to have at least one column within your table. Create that sales table and hit enter. It will tell you that 101 rows affected, they get added. Then we go back to workbench and then go to sales table, select rows, and we have our data over there, as you can see. But considering it was not properly formatted, that means we have to create a table properly, and then we will have to set the columns. Considering everything goes within region, we will have to filter this data out, so it becomes a bit complicated, right? So you get the idea. There are two good ways. One is using the import wizard, second using the command prompt. As you can see, it is a bit complicated and it will require you to have your table with columns ready before you can import them. Otherwise everything goes within the available set of those columns and data becomes messy.